And I'm going to say hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's the Super Show. We got FTG Taylor back.
Hello.
He's joined us again. He had so much fun last time.
Delighted to be here.
When I asked him on Friday to come guest on the show today, he graciously accepted. So thank you, buddy.
Happy to be here, and happy birthday, Mr. President.
Thank you, everybody, for the birthday wishes in Discord and on the Facebooks and here. Come see me today. I'm doing crazy discounts today. We're just going to have some fun. I'll be running D&D tonight. So I am here with you all, both virtually this morning and then physically this afternoon. So everybody come hang out. We got a full slate of stuff to talk about today.
3 bullet points that will easily fill every ounce of time that we can hope to have.
4 bullet points now.
4 whole bullet points.
Yeah, it's going to be, it's a show. But as always, if you have any topics that you saw over the weekend, somebody already brought it up in the YouTube chat, you can go ahead and drop them into the chats, and we will try and get to them at the end of the show today. So if you have anything in particular, somebody in the YouTube chat started asking me about the D&D AI art thingy, and so we're going to address that today, because that broke while Taylor was here on Saturday for the Commander Masters draft.
Yeah, which we will also be discussing. But yeah, that story came out. That was, the closest thing to breaking news that I've engaged with. Exactly, yeah, happy little,
Thank you for the bits, for the 40 bits, because I am 40 today. I fortunately feel like I don't look 40.
Oh, you're crushing it.
A lot of people think I look like I'm in my early 30s.
I can't wait to go gray.
I'm starting to. It's happening.
I'm so excited. Like, I am happy for you and also slightly mad because part of me wants to be older than I am. Yeah. Partially because I spend all my time talking about old stuff and that sort of thing, so it feels very fitting. Yep. But yeah, I'm being waved at.
Martin's waving at us from offset.
Happy birthmas.
You finally get your mount. What do you pick? What's your mount?
I was never a WoW guy.
Sure.
So my mounts was like the longest MMO I played was SWTOR.
Okay.
And so I loved all the variety of bikes.
Yeah.
In SWTOR. Yeah. Martin's waving at the class. Okay.
Which am I allowed to ask a birthday question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Scrubs, one of the most influential shows of my kind of personal TV canon. There we go, getting some appreciation from Offset here. Christopher Turk, played by Donald Faison, has a moment where he talks about wanting to invent a new kind of surgery so that his birthday will be a national holiday because he hates having to work on his birthday. Yes. So if you could have some accomplishment that would make your birthday become a national holiday so you never had to work again on your birthday, what would it be?
It would be the implementation of UBI.
Ooh, okay. You have to unpack this for me.
So universal basic income. I think we should pass that as a thing.
Okay.
Right? I want to be the one. If I was going to do that, that would be the thing, because that would be really cool, right? Also with AI and computers, they're going to have to start working.
Oh man.
It's going to have to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. SWTOR, the Ranker. It'd be fun to ride a Ranker. I loved that part of Boba Fett, right? Boba Fett's riding the Rancor. 100%. That was great. All right, let's get going because we got a lot to do.
Plenty to do.
All right, so this weekend was the Commander Masters release.
Yes.
Right.
At time of recording, it just came out. What?
Yes, Friday.
5 days ago?
Yes.
Yeah.
4 days ago.
Yes.
Yes, Friday. So Friday night, Commander Masters came out, and there had been a lot of talk about this set kind of going in, some of the really good reprints and things like that. But there was also a lot of consternation about this set.
Yes.
Largely due to the price.
Yeah, 100%.
Also, I think that one of the things that we saw was a lot of the reprints that are coming here are also coming in Wilds of Eldraine, which is dropping in a month.
Doubling Season was the big one I saw. If there was another one, somebody in the chat will have to help me out. But yeah, Doubling Season I know, which something like a $90 card going into the release of Commander Masters. And then I'll be really interested to see the rate at which it is printed, because from what I saw in the announcement, which I know we're getting to this, sounded like it would be in the list, which is 1 out of every 4 set boosters. You get a card from the list, and then collector boosters. Yeah, Kelsey, to your comment there in the YouTube chat.
There's only a handful of cards with more than a collector's pack. The funny thing is we saw prices tank going into Friday for singles. Saturday they started easing back up.
Oh,
and
interesting.
there was ones I was checking Sunday because somebody called me Saturday night about one particular single that came out of Commander Masters.
Okay.
And when I checked it Saturday night, it was $25.
Yeah.
Right? And when I went back to do it the next day, I said, I will honor the price that I quoted you, but I'm just curious because I'm watching the fluctuation.
Yeah.
It had gone up to 36.
Interesting.
By Sunday.
Yeah.
And so so our policy at the store, we don't buy from new set for 1 month.
I like that.
Period.
For y'all as the store, because it does fluctuate so wildly.
We will break box, and we broke open a set box of Commander Masters to put into the case of singles for people that wanted to buy singles that we could get a hold of. But we won't buy secondary until at least, because it's going to take that long.
Yeah.
And I honestly think it's going to take till after Walls of Eldraine drops for it to really stabilize.
I could see that.
But $400-ish for a set booster box,
Yeah.
$325 for a draft booster, $64.99 for a collector booster.
Single collector booster.
Single
just
collector
the one.
booster pack.
Yeah.
$239 for the 4-pack box.
4 of them, yeah.
Right.
Which is that like $1 savings?
Yeah.
Oh no, wait, I'm bad at math.
Couple bucks.
Like if it's because $69.99, right?
Yep.
So yeah, it's you save a bit. You save something.
What was your first thought? Like, we talked about this a long time ago.
Yeah.
First, what was your original thought on the pricing that they put out for
Sure.
this particular set? And then now that you've kind of had a chance, because you drafted it on Saturday.
Yeah, I got to.
You got a collector pack.
I did, yes.
Okay. And so, what's your original thought, and then what's your thought now?
Yeah.
And I know the last episode you were on with us, you talked about the fact that you have to be thoughtfully and sometimes prayerfully like, okay, I'm just going to miss out on this.
Yeah,
You
that
know?
I just have to. And
go ahead.
I'll talk bare bones with it. So like where we're at in our family is we have a budget app. It's this little thing. It's got a happy little envelope as its thing because I don't know, people may remember there used to be a day where budgeting was just I put cash in an envelope, and when that envelope is empty, I don't have anything else to spend on that. This is a digital version of that. I get $130 a month to spend on nerd stuff. In my budget, I couldn't purchase 2 collector boosters of this pack. Of this set. So financially, just to be above board, that's where I'm coming at with it. Something I do want to take the opportunity to say, because I think the story around Commander Masters, not unreasonably, has become the price. Maybe even more than the cards. And I would say definitely more than the draft, which I'm excited to talk about what that draft was like. And I would just want to say to anybody out there listening, like, if you bought Commander Masters and you feel like the internet wants you to feel bad for having purchased that thing, like, one guy on the internet, I hope you enjoyed your purchase.
Oh,
like,
yeah, for sure. We don't want anybody to feel bad about their purchase. Don't get me wrong, like, and we're going to continue selling it and stuff like that. I'm just curious, again, more do you think there was value at this level?
I think there could be. It's very interesting. I have, a Discord I'm a part of, where one person I know, and was talking about it in this Discord, talked about they cracked a couple boxes, I think, of collector packs, and they opened a bunch of value. The foily, full art, fancy things, and all this sort of stuff. And somebody else was posting, like, I just cracked a collector box and got next to nothing. I see in the YouTube chat here, we have somebody saying cracked, thousands of dollars worth in boxes and doesn't seem like they pulled an awful lot.
Yep.
It's my collector pack that I got. I think the most valuable card in it was $150, and that was at time of open. When prices were at kind of a peak. And my thing is, I make a conscious choice to not feel bad about that.
No, don't.
Like, that's just something I do in my head. Because the second I get into that wasn't worth it, now I want to chase more. I just know that about myself.
I think that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of players. And I think the Magic is almost counting on that.
Yes. And this is me, my tiny rebellion trying to break the system is the conscious choice I will make is to deny that voice in my head of I missed the experience of opening a cool pack, so I must chase that experience.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that later because I think that may be affecting some of the financials.
Yeah, I can see it.
We're going to talk about that later today.
For sure. I do want to chat because you mentioned it. I really like the draft of this set. I did have the chance to draft it.
Saturday,
and I drafted it to play. I didn't draft for value. I passed cards that I knew were worth quite a bit of money. Foil, full art, fancy things that was just, this doesn't fit in the deck I'm drafting, so I'm not going to draft it. That was a conscious choice that I made. And it was interesting because I got to weigh, even in my one little draft pod, I watched people drafting for value who then had a pretty miserable time playing their decks. And then I got to see people who drafted myself, and congratulations to our new store champion, drafted a fantastic deck. Like, so artfully put together. I want to be in this guy's head as he was drafting this deck because it was so artfully and thoughtfully put together. Now, the deck that he had, I thumbed through it. He let me thumb through it. I'd be stunned if the whole thing was worth more than $30 that he drafted. But the fun of drafting this set was really fun. If you get the chance to draft Commander Masters, because the draft box was maybe the cheapest box you can get your hands on, see if you can get 5 of your friends, 7 of your friends, bring it into the shop and draft it. It's a fun way to open packs.
Came in Sunday, and that was what because one of them was not feeling very well.
Sure.
And I hope they're feeling better.
Yeah.
And so they sent another friend, and they were like, hey, go buy a draft box, and we'll just draft it at home.
Yeah.
Right? And I thought that was really cool. I was like,
yes.
See, that seems like the kind of thing that I would enjoy doing because of the social aspect, especially if it's all people I know.
100%.
Again, drafting, this is an interesting set to me. We had a hard time filling drafts.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It was
tough. We
tough.
got 1 to fire on Friday.
Yep.
And then 1 to fire on Saturday.
And it took a while.
Yeah. And then Sunday we couldn't get 1 to fire.
Yeah.
We got like 4 or 5 people.
Yeah.
So my thing with the drafting on this set is, again, the time value of money and how people value their thing. And here's the thing. Everybody needs to value their personal funds, And this is the crappy thing is we were still the cheapest draft in town. So I was told by multiple people, and I still couldn't. We had loads of people show up for Commander, and my thought prior to Commander Night, our normal Commander Night, was we'll peel 8 to 10 of them away from Commander Night to draft Commander Masters on release day.
You managed to peel, 3?
Yeah, and then the other 3 were new people to the store.
Well, and what was interesting about that to me was Friday we had, people I'd never seen before. One of them was they were flying out that night. And it was like they heard that the draft was happening. I think, wasn't the person right at the age limit where they are allowed to be in the store by themselves?
They were 13 years old.
Yeah, their parent dropped them off. We had a guy come out from Whidbey Island, near us here. He spent hours in a ferry line because he heard that we were doing a draft that was at a price that he was interested in doing.
Yep.
But I think for a lot of people, and this is why I say the price should be a part of the conversation. For those who can, I hope they know that this is a fun draft. And for those who can't, like myself, I did my one draft of this that I was able to do, and unless somebody invites me to crack the box that they've bought and they get to keep all the cards, I probably won't be able to draft this set again. I had a lot of fun with it, and I was really glad to be able to do it.
Well, you did really well in the draft tournament.
Yeah.
You played very well.
Thank you. It's funny.
It came down to you and our store champion at the end.
We were in the finals there. Game 1, I mulliganed to 4. From 7 to 4. And this is, if you've never played in really competitive Magic, and it's just something you have to accept. Sometimes you're going to mulligan to 4. Sometimes you are not going to draw this. Yeah. Sometimes you are not going to draw the swamp when you need to draw it. And if I drew a swamp right now, I am right back in this game and probably winning. But you didn't draw it.
Yeah.
And this is why I like to compare playing more competitive Magic to the similar mindset that you see with people in professional poker. They are evaluating their win-loss over years because they understand that it's a law of large numbers thing. It's a little like baseball. You're going to win a certain number of games, you're going to lose a certain number of games, and what you do with the 50 games in the middle determines if you're a World Series contender or bottom of your division.
Yep.
It's competitive Magic is a little bit like that because at a certain point it's a stats game.
Oh, absolutely.
Sometimes, down to 4. And I will let myself flex momentarily. I still made that a game. It was 8 and 8, and then they dropped a little bit of a bomb. And like I said, nothing but credit to the way this person drafted their deck. Like, they clearly so thoughtfully put this deck together. Every card worked with every other card, worked with their commander. Like, I was agonizing over having to figure out, what do I remove? Like, I've got this removal spell on my hand, and it could be this creature or this enchantment or this creature, and all of them are doing the same thing, and they're essential to what the person's deck is doing.
Yeah.
So that's true. Yeah.
Overall, because we're 24 into this segment.
Okay.
Oh no, we're 12 into this segment.
Okay.
We're good. Overall, we're saying it's a fun set.
Yes.
There's some cool stuff. Good to draft.
Yeah.
Interesting to draft.
Yeah.
Probably a little on the pricey side.
Yeah.
So my takeaway at the end when I got through at the end of Sunday.
The release weekend. Yeah.
I think that if this set was about 10 to 15% cheaper, not as cheap as a normal set.
Sure.
But you figure a set booster box is approximately 3 times what a normal set booster box is for a normal set.
Round there.
If it would have been 2x,
sure,
I think that this set would have gone over better.
Yeah.
We got our WPN survey yesterday.
Interesting.
From Wizards,
okay.
And they were like, how.
You as the shop
yeah,
got
us
that?
as the shop.
Cool.
The shop gets it because we're a WPN store, and they said, okay, how many did you ask for? How many did your distributors give you? Because they're checking our allocations.
Yeah.
Right? What did you request? What did you get?
Yeah.
Da-da-da. How much did you sell?
Yeah.
Right? And I put down the numbers after I looked through everything, and I had to go back and look at all the pre-orders and everything else. And then I said, and then at the bottom, it always has this little question, when do you plan on reordering? I don't.
Yeah. For that product?
I don't.
Yeah, absolutely not.
So this is, I think if it was about 10 to 20% cheaper, 25% cheaper, and still been more expensive than a normal set.
Oh, sure.
I think it would have gone over way better.
Yeah.
I think if we would have been able to price decks at about 79 and not 99.
Yeah.
I mean.
Well, that's just.
That's where we would have been.
Mentally. Having to think, like, I see the Warhammer pre-constructed decks right now, which still move. When people see those on shelves, they still grab those. Those are going for 80-ish.
89.
Right, and typically, yeah. But the second in my mind, I'm having to think, I'm about to spend $100
plus sales
on
tax.
I'm about to spend $100+ on a commander deck. Like, for some people, Posty doesn't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
I have to worry about that. Which, just speaking of the Magic side of things, your hobby is changing shape when NPR does a story on the financial side of Magic, like, because these are my takes. Is I read the same news as your grandparents, and that's when that it's becoming a different conversation.
Well, and here's where I know it's becoming a different conversation too. And this is the kind of the last piece we'll hit on here.
Sure.
Because I had an interesting conversation with one of our distributors yesterday.
Okay.
And we're still kind of in a. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to have to call them after the show today. When we did our allocations, we have 3 distributors that we buy Magic from. We have our primary and our 2 secondaries.
Yeah.
One of our secondary distributors, we got most of our masters from our primary distributor,
Sure.
and a little bit from both. One of them, he said, hey, take this. And I said, that's my local guy. I'm going to take what he's got in case UPS snafu, something like that.
Yeah.
So I have something on the shelf. My other secondary distributor, she called me and I said, look, I'll take the decks. I'll take the draft boosters. I can't do the set boosters. They're just too much. Right. And I'm not going to sell them.
Yeah.
Right. And she said, okay, we'll pull the set boosters off the order.
Okay.
And do that. Yesterday, the distributor calls.
The same one who said they would pull them off the order. Okay.
You have to take all of them, or we're charging you a 25% restocking fee.
Wow.
Because here's the thing. What I'm hearing from the distributors is this set, they're sitting on. They're in the same boat we are. They are sitting on a lot of this, and the senior management of that particular distributor said, we want this reconciled by the end of the day.
They want it gone.
They want it gone, or they want money out of it, because it's bonkers.
Jeez.
And so it's hitting everybody at every level.
Yeah.
Right? Again, the problem with the set boosters, and I think what's going to end up happening is we're going to end up packing them out, right?
Yeah.
We sold people packs. Because people are like, it's expensive, but I'll take a
Do a pack.
I'll do a pack.
I mean, what are 20?
20.
Okay. Yeah. Which, for what I could get, once a month, and again, I've talked about where I'm at, in terms of how much I want to spend on things. I'm open, not steal, let's do it, but I'm open to that. As you say, a pack. You know, if I came home and told my wife of almost a decade, so I went ahead and spent $400 on a box of Magic boosters. There is not a couch far enough away from our home that I could be banished to for that particular action.
Oh, for sure. So I got to find out what's going to happen with that, but apparently it's at every level.
Yeah.
Like, they're sitting on it. And again, this one's...
Well, in Soltar, I agree. I see in the Twitch chat here, wanted to be a fly on the wall in the meeting where that was decided. It makes me wonder, and it makes me pay attention, and fittingly for one of the things we're going to be discussing in a bit here, are lessons learned from this? Because I've heard you say, as a store owner, we're in Wizard's backyard. Mark, come visit.
Well, he was here on Saturday.
Wait, what?
This is the Wizards guy. He was here. He was going to draft.
I thought you meant Mark Rosewater.
No.
And I was just like,
No.
I would have heard him.
One of the Wizards reps was here Saturday.
You're right, yes. And you've talked about them coming in and like the conversation about Aftermath. Of them talking to you and hearing like, yeah, we know this was kind of
And even on
dud.
Saturday he was like,
yeah.
I don't know.
And so it makes me wonder, will lessons be learned from this?
And we're going to talk about that in a couple of topics with what's going on. But staying on Magic.
Sure.
Right? But kind of going to the positive side.
Yeah. I like to like things, as has been established.
We saw, because again, another thing that broke on
Saturday. Yeah.
Right? Is the 2024 roadmap.
Yes.
Right.
And the 2025 and 2026
they announced some stuff
to a degree.
Yeah, we don't have a full roadmap for 25 and 26 yet. We know that Final Fantasy is coming in 25.
Yes.
We know a few other things are coming in 25.
We have call it a vision board.
Yes.
Yes, Necrontier, Ravnica Remastered. We get to see.
Okay, so Q1. There's 3 in Q1, so I'm going to go January, February, March.
Sure.
It's probably going to be the release line here. We have Ravnica Remastered, which is going to be another Masters set.
Yep. Similar to Dominaria Remastered.
Please, Wizards, learn from Commander Masters.
Oh, man, yeah. Well, and this is, here what's interesting is the remastered sets are different.
But even Dominaria Remastered was expensive.
It was. And what I'm interested to see with this is they're doing it with this, and my understanding is the plan for them to eventually do an Innistrad Remastered as well. So basically this is all the visits to Ravnica. We've had 3 of them now. One of them quite recently, just before War of the Spark. So within the last 5 years, I suppose, but relatively recently, considering we're playing a game that turned 30 on Saturday. Bringing all those things together in order to have that play experience. I've got a box of Dominaria Remastered. I am, as we were saying, I've got draft boosters I could just crack. I want to draft them. Like, I enjoy these remastered draft sets.
So I'm hoping this is good.
Sure.
Next we got, and I'm guessing it's going to be a mini set. It'll be a micro set, which is Murders at Karlov Manor.
I'm interested to see what that's going to be.
Which takes place in Ravnica.
Yes.
And I'm not very clear on what this set's gonna be.
I went ahead and went back and watched the whole presentation. And
it's a murder mystery.
Yes. And what they had said was Ravnica Remastered is the guilds. Which, if you're not as familiar with Magic, the guilds are the names for each of the 10 color pairs of Magic. Ravnica has become the place where they have identified what those guilds are. So, for example, if you're ever in a game store and somebody says Boros, that's red and white. Golgari is green and black, and so on. And that's the most iconic thing about Ravnica, are those guilds. You have a lot of Magic players who are like, I'm a Boros player, or I'm a Rakdos player, that's black-red, or I'm a Simic player, that's bad people. Sorry, that was a hot take. It's love to all of my Simic players in the chat and other places. Ishnatal, to your comment in the chat.
No, it's not the remaster. It comes after the remaster.
Original Ravnica will be in Ravnica Remastered. So as Dominaria Remastered was a selection of cards from every set that has ever been placed on the plane of Dominaria, which is the prime lore plane of Magic. This is what Ravnica Remastered will likely be.
Yeah.
Big thing I'm excited for is Shockland reprints. Shocklands, for those who don't know, they come into play untapped if you pay 2 life. They are essential in Pioneer and Modern play. And to see those get reprinted means those prices are going to come down, means budget Magic Taylor is a happy camper.
Murders at Carla Manor, again, takes place in Ravnica, but it looks like it's going to come out in February, and it's something specific. And again, I'm not, even from their descriptions, not super clear what the Murders at Karlov Manor set release is going to look like.
From what I can tell, because, like, for example...
It doesn't look like a full release.
I think it might be. I'm interested to see, because Ravnica Remastered, Dominaria Remastered was just draft boosters. No, they were collectors.
There was collectors.
They were collectors. But it wasn't a standard legal set. My understanding is, based on its release schedule and what else is there in Q1, Murders at Karlov Keep will be their standard legal set, I believe, for that area. And what they said in the thing was, what they said in the presentation, it's set on Ravnica, but with kind of different mechanics. So it's not the traditional Ravnica experience.
What's those ones like the Crown ones?
Oh, Conspiracy?
Yeah.
It could be, but
I wonder if it's going to have a weird draft mechanic like Conspiracy.
I could see that.
Because it's like Murder Mystery. And they're releasing a Clue, by the way, they're releasing a Clue that also is the Karlov Manor version of Clue.
Which is like a standalone box thing.
It's a standalone box. It's a board game. I'll buy a few of them.
That's, that's the market you want to tap. That's the big brain thing there. Get the Clue players. That's who you want to get into. I do want to say to Ishnatal in the Twitch chat there, I believe it will have, Ravnica Remastered, I believe, will have your beloved original Dimir. It will also have other Dimir. So from the Ravnica block, Return to Ravnica, and then Ravnica Allegiance and Guilds of Ravnica. All of that will be bundled together.
Ryan, I want to let you know I saw your question in the YouTube chat. I'm going to get to that in just a few minutes because I like that question. Okay. Rounding out Q1, we have Fallout.
Yes. Just commander decks, they were saying.
It's a Universes Beyond set of Fallout.
Yes.
I'm torn on this. Somebody said on Saturday that Magic has become the Fortnite of trading
cards. That was me. Yeah. I was the one.
It's like, it's Fortnite. Okay.
I didn't say it on the internet, so I didn't get credit for the joke, and I'm fine with that.
Yes, like the video game.
I'm okay with it.
It's just Fallout. So here's the thing. My understanding is it will encompass every Fallout game that's been released.
Yep.
Right? And we'll have elements from all of them.
Yep.
I'm curious what they're going to do with the commanders here. I'll be honest. So I know people in the chat are saying, I'm going to be happy. I love Fallout. I am a huge Fallout fan. I love the video games.
What did you think of 4?
I love Fallout 4.
Okay, cool.
I love Fallout 4.
I know it's I enjoyed it as well. I know it's divisive for some people.
I mean, there's definitely critiques to be made of Fallout 4, and I've actually, I think, talked about it on the show before. But I want more information about the Fallout decks.
Nuka-Cola food tokens I'm seeing in the YouTube chat.
Oh, yeah, that would be really fun.
I do want that now.
Okay, we're going to get those. Moving into Q2, only 2 sets in Q2. Unlike this year where there was 3.
Yeah. Slowing that down a little bit, which I think
is probably a good idea.
Some people will rejoice, because I think for a lot of people the thing has been there's too much Magic.
This brings us to Outlaws of Thunder Junction, which is the first. This is a wholly original plane that they're doing again. It looks like Wild West Magic.
And villain themed. They said that's
Outlaws,
kind of the
which makes sense.
Outlaws, sure.
I like the art style. I'm concerned it's going to be another Streets of New Capenna.
I mean,
at release.
I am a sucker for these things. Oh my gosh, I would love to see Wild West Oko.
Look, I'm actually looking forward to this set.
Yeah.
Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Again, but you and I are one of those people that I liked New Capenna.
Yep,
me
too.
I loved New Capenna when it released. And I couldn't figure out why we couldn't sell it.
All you have to do is just wait until everybody discovers they love drafting it 2.5 years later or whatever, after it's been on your clearance shelf, and then there you go. Would Volts be similar to Gates? We're talking about the Fallout
that would be
decks there in the chat. That could be.
And then, to round out Q2, we have Modern Horizons 3.
Yep. I
Modern Horizons is a popular set.
Yes.
I still sell Modern Horizons 2 here because we get set booster boxes of that periodically.
Kind of that pack by pack thing that you were saying there.
Looks like it's going to be a little more expensive, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But it's, I think, going to be interesting. Then we're back to the Fortniting of Magic.
Yes.
For Q3. The only thing they didn't release was Q4 releases for next year, so I'm curious.
Yeah.
So August, September, October, or no, July, August, September, make up Q3 for next year. Assassin's Creed.
Yes. This is, well, and what's interesting is they describe
And they're doing boosters for this.
They are, and it's like, their description led me to believe it is mostly a flavor set. Like, they talked about it being modern legal and that sort of thing. And to me, this is, it is, and I say this just with the caveat, I suppose, that this has proven very successful for Fortnite to become a place where you can find literally every IP. Like, this is people who like Assassin's Creed will come in and buy a booster pack of Magic the Gathering.
Yeah,
because they like Assassin's Creed.
Creed is going to have Beyond boosters, which can be drafted and is like a small set.
Yeah.
So, again, I want to see more about the product for this, but I love Assassin's Creed too.
And I mean, there you go.
I want an Ezio commander.
Yes.
Give me an Ezio
People will
commander.
and I mean, it's interesting because someone in the YouTube chat was calling me out for a very cold take on the Simic Guild earlier. This is a similarly cold take that people have had, is that, you know, you're going to have, I block your Ezio with my Gandalf friend of hobbits, and then cast Cloud Strife and chug a Nuka-Cola for, you know, and that this is what Magic is going to become. And it's,
that is some of the discussions I've seen online.
Yeah.
Now this comes to our next Q3 set, which I think is going to be, this is the one when the minute I saw it, I was like, that's going to fly off the shelf. And that's Bloomborough. Which they are calling the cutest set they've ever made. It is full of little rabbits and squirrels. And
so cute.
It's very Mouse Guard.
It's the little mouse. It's the little mouse with a little sword, and he's going up against a big wolf. The thing it hit for me was, and I don't know if this is a problematic take or anything. This is my second time on the internet. I managed to not be canceled the first time. Let's see if I make it 2 for 2. I don't know if Redwall's problematic now, but did you ever do the Redwall books growing? Like,
Not
did
as
you
I
ever see
recall.
these? Maybe somebody in the chat talking about Redwall. So this was basically this. It was mice and badgers and woodland creatures going on adventures and being knights and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Something tells me someone in these design meetings was, so when I was reading Redwall when I was a kid, yes, precisely. I'm seeing in some of the chats here, we're getting some of these characters called out. Oh my gosh, this is going
to be great for all our squirrel deck people.
The squirrel decks, which there's magic card A Cornelia, which you get bonuses for any card that mentions squirrels or has them in the art. And something tells me that Bloomborough is going to dramatically expand the amount of cards that can go in that deck. I think you're right. I think it's going to fly.
I think people are going to absolutely adore that.
Because the last time they did a set, and speaking of 2025, 2026, Lorwyn, the last time they did a set with sort of a similar vibe, one of the most beloved sets in the history of Magic. With a similar, there are no humans. This is very kind of, I think the word some people use for it is twee. You know, it's very cute and it's very fun and it's very playful. Oh, you know there's going to be cats. There's got to be cats.
Rabbits, mice, wolves, and everything else as main characters, talking, wearing clothes, wielding weapons, and war.
Yep.
Mark Rosewater called it Magic's most charming set.
Most charming set.
Yep. The second of the 3-year story arc will kick off along with the new arc. This is called Dragonstorm, and its first set will be Bloomborough.
Can we talk story just a little?
Yeah, just let's get through this last one because we got one more to talk about. Again, we don't have the Q4 official releases yet.
True.
We don't know what's coming, but so we're going to get through Q3, and that's what they show. They said this is for sure it.
Yep.
It's Duskmourn, House of Horrors, which is again a new plane.
Yes.
So here's the thing, like, for all the IP stuff, I like that we're getting new planes.
Yes,
let's do
100%.
new stuff. Bloomborough, Outlaws of Thunder Junction, Duskmourn.
Yeah.
I hope we have a return to New Capenna at some point.
Yeah.
Right? So Dustmorn takes place in a plane that is a giant haunted mansion.
Everything is a giant haunted mansion.
And
yes.
it's based on modern horror tropes,
yes.
is what they're calling. So
this is the set where I am nervous to crack packs around my son.
We're going to get some Slender Man in there.
Oh my god.
Some weird stuff.
Which this is like when, with some of the Phyrexia stuff, a lot of teeth in Phyrexia. And so when I was opening Phyrexia All Will Be One, or when I'm drafting it on Arena, and my son is there with me, which my son's 6, part of me is like, is this card gonna like super freak you out?
Yeah.
And part of me wonders.
Yep.
So...
Any SCPs? I think that's what they're probably going for.
SCP?
Society of Creepypasta. So there's a whole thing.
Okay.
Like, there's a whole thing about SCP, and that's the modern horror stuff.
Got it. Okay.
All right, so now let's talk. I mean, it looks like a solid release schedule.
Yeah.
It looks like they're slowing it down a smidge.
Yeah.
We're still at not quite 3 sets a quarter.
No.
But at least we're slowing it down for the summer.
And Magic is a lot of different things. Magic is Draft, Magic is Modern, Magic is Commander. You know, we've got the topic coming up a little later on how does Commander affect the prices of some of these things. So I can...
Yes, Jurassic Park will be in Ixalan, actually, later this year.
Yes.
It's not getting its own Universe Beyond, but much like Transformers was part of Brothers War.
Was part of Brothers War.
Jurassic Park will be part of...
Part of Caverns of Ixalan is going to be... And that's 2025?
I want to say it was this year. There's an Ixalan set coming out this year.
Is it 2024? I missed it if it was in the little thing that we were looking at. Final Fantasy, as well.
That's next...
That's
2025.
5 or 6.
Yeah.
Which, and some people have been... I saw somebody in the Twitch chat make the point, this likely signals the end of the most recent Final Fantasy card game. Final Fantasy has its own card game with its own deck. Somebody in chat was mentioning
it does.
that they have several of them. I don't know if Square Enix is committed to having that property going forward. And to me, it speaks to the potential success of Magic as the Fortnite of card games.
Yep.
If people would rather have their IP in this than make their own thing of it.
Yeah. So lore. You want to talk some lore?
I mean... only very briefly.
Okay.
I was very excited by a couple things in this stream. For all of my fellow, the term is Vorthoses. So this is, people just like the Magic story. I grew up reading the Little Magic novels.
Oh, I remember those.
Yeah. So now they have bundles. Before they were called Fat Packs. It was usually the same number of boosters, and they came with the novel. And it was the official canon Magic story, which they still do. Now it's web fiction, which I like. I like that it's free web fiction. But a few things that they did in this stream that got me excited were they announced it's a new chapter of the story. Planeswalkers after March the Machine are not as much a thing anymore. In the Magic lore side, so the Planeswalker Spark is what let the Planeswalker travel from plane to plane. No one else could do that in Magic. Now, the events of March of the Machine have opened what they call the Omen Paths. So these are traversable paths
between the planes.
Which are dangerous and unstable, but anyone can take them. It's how Outlaws of Thunder Junction is possible. Because now they can have every villain from across the multiverse in the same place. And so this is the new story. Planeswalkers are going to be, one can surmise, less and less the focal point of Magic's characters. I think we'll still see our Chandras and our Nissas and our Ajanis and our Teos and various others, characters that people know, but the focus is shifting. And another thing that I just like, in case you didn't hear about this and you're like me, one of my weird quibbles with the Magic story being web fiction is I can only read it in a browser. My browser doesn't save where I left off.
Oh, so you have to re-scroll every time.
I have to re-scroll. They released 900 pages, the entire Phyrexia arc, Kaldheim to March of the Machine. Every single piece of web fiction story as a free EPUB.
Oh, nice.
So now I can put it on my Apple Books app, or you can put it on your Kindle app, or whatever e-reader you have, and I can actually put a bookmark in it.
That's wonderful.
And that, weirdly for me, that was the thing I was most excited about, was you're telling me it's actually going to save where I left off when I fall asleep reading this in bed?
Yep.
You know? So I was happy about that. And I'm excited to see that they have a commitment to that story going forward.
And again, I like new stuff.
Yeah.
Like I said, anytime you're doing new stuff, I have a feeling I'm going to like Outlaws of whatever junction.
Me too.
Yeah. I think that Magic needs to figure out some of their product offerings a little better.
Yeah.
Like, look how fast theme boosters came and went.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, nope, that didn't work.
Yeah.
So, interesting to see.
So this is interesting. In the YouTube chat I see here, and I went to college with Allison Lures, the former head of creative, or in some very high up position in creative. She wrote, much to her credit, she deserves all the credit for this, widely recognized as some of the best web fiction they ever did, which was the Ixalan stories focused on Jace. She wrote those, widely looked at as some of the best. So it's always funny to me when her name comes up, because one, she very much deserves all the credit she receives. She did excellent work. And two, we watched Venture Brothers together my freshman year of college. So it's always funny for me to see. I'm not trying to flex or anything. I doubt she would know me from Adam. But it's just fun to see her doing as well as she's done, because I think she's a super cool human. It's Allison, if you're out there and you remember me at all, hi. You have made some incredible stuff. Congratulations.
Sticking with Wizards for one more topic.
A little bit more, and then, we'll get... Which, there's a lot to talk about with Wizards. They're kind of a big thing. So and I'm the Magic guy,
This is the state of Wizards right now. So first off...
The money side.
Well, not just the money side.
Sure,
so let's start with the AI art piece. So obviously on Saturday, it broke that one of their artists, who Wizards has worked with for a number of years...
Yeah. Something like a decade?
Yeah, pretty close. 9 years. He used some art.
Yeah.
Some AI stuff to do some artwork for Wizards. Sent it to Wizards, and Wizards is including it in Big Bees, which is the next D&D book.
The next D&D book.
Right.
The technical, just, I love me some evidence, and I do, if we can snag that in the chat there, I think that's interesting to discuss.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second, Necron.
I'm big on evidence.
He admitted it.
Yeah, and what the artist claimed was they owned it. The day after it came out, they posted to the site formerly known as Twitter. They owned, apparently they used it, they said, for edit and polishing. They did a side-by-side where they showed, here's what they claimed was their original digital painting, and then they said, I did use AI for polishing and editing.
Part of it
so
was
it is
also another artist that works with Wizards. Some of their stuff was fed into his AI.
And I believe there was there's a legal side to this too, there's some lawsuits and things.
And so right now, this is going to get worse. D&D, to their credit, unlike the OGL debacle, immediately jumped on this.
I hope that is them having learned a lesson from how poorly they handled the OGL debacle.
Well, in the OGL debacle, it took them 14 days to issue a statement.
Long time.
This one, they jumped on. Now, part of it, I think, is this is a simpler situation for them to address.
Yeah.
Right, than the OGL was. Because I think they got caught flat-footed really bad with the OGL.
Yeah, things were found out that they didn't want people to find out, at least in that way.
Yes.
They did not, there was no spin on that. And
so they were stuck in a position there. This one, they jumped out immediately, put something out on the D&D Beyond, formerly known as Twitter page, and I think they put it on Threads too.
Yeah.
Which is, hey, we didn't actually know.
Yeah, they didn't disclose. The artist did not disclose this.
They didn't tell us ahead of time. It slipped through our thingy. We're updating our artist guidelines. Apparently, their artist guidelines for Magic already address AI art.
Okay.
And say no.
Okay.
But didn't have the same ones in the D&D one.
They are in the same building. Mm-hmm. They're in the same physical building about an hour drive south of where I am currently sitting.
And a lot of the questions were, how did this get past the art director?
Yeah.
Being that artists on Twitter basically found it immediately.
Yeah.
And were like, what the heck?
What happened here?
Yep. Again, better response time this time, D&D, and a better response to the situation.
Sure.
But you guys can't seem to go a quarter
I know.
without stepping on something.
It is
OGL,
very much...
Pinkertons, now this.
Yeah.
Y'all need to get out of your own way.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm not here to hate on Wizards.
Yeah.
Okay? I like your product.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
And many will accuse me of liking it too much.
Y'all need to get out of your own way. Okay?
I very much, yeah.
And I think it is affecting their brand. and this is where we'll get into the numbers.
Yes.
Hasbro's Wizards of the Coast and digital gaming segment are down 11% in Q2 from $419 million in revenue of last year for Q2 to $375 this year.
Okay.
They're taking a $25 million write-down, which tells us finally what they're...
On the D&D movie there.
On the D&D movie.
Yep.
I don't think that counts the marketing budget.
Oh, this is just the production of the film.
Boom, $25 million markdown. Hasbro's already sold the production company that made it.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, they sold them a few weeks ago. Wow. Gone. They spent a lot of money on that movie, and that movie tanked. Staying with the numbers though, Magic sales were down 15% from 365 in Q2 of 2022 to 311 in 2023.
So is that like from this time last year to this time this year?
So no, that's just comparing quarter to quarter.
Okay, got it.
Q2 of 22 to Q2 of 23, they're down. It's 50 million less. For the first half overall,
$50 million less in sales
in Q2.
See, and this is, I don't know to those watching what these numbers do to you. To me, it's just like, what is that number? Like, this game can still be as popular as it is and people can buy $50 million less of it. Like, this is me actively trying to wrap my brain around that.
Overall,
but not great for the financial side there.
Overall, Magic down for the first half, down 22 million from 562 to 540. And here's the bigger things. They were buoyed by a 33% increase in digital revenues behind D&D Beyond.
Okay.
Which added nearly 2 million registered users in the first half and growth in MTG Arena. Operating profit for the digital gaming segment dropped from 142 million from 225, lower revenue. Where's the other one? Here you go. This is where it's going to go. With the write-down and lower profit contributions from WotC, Hasbro profits went from $219 million in profit in 2022 at this stage to a $188 million loss.
And to be clear there, so that's, you were making $200-something million, and you not only went to zero, but then went down almost the same, or from my perspective, almost the same amount. We're doing the math here.
Yeah, $407 million drop.
See that, and I see it in the YouTube chat here. I think there is something to be said for wringing the community dry. It's the comment being made in the YouTube chat there. And as we talked about a little bit before stream, to a certain group involved in this conversation, money's to a degree not real.
No.
And I wonder if what they're discovering is money is real to the people who have to decide how much am I going to spend on your game,
products.
like me. And like I think a lot of us, watching this stream and playing these games.
Yeah. This is big.
That's big. You were telling me before the stream, that's like somebody doesn't work in the position they were in before.
It's a very good chance.
Yeah.
Again, a $25 million write-down. I'm actually surprised it's not a little higher.
Yeah.
That tells me that the production budget, the reported production budget, was probably a little bit lower than we all thought.
Okay.
Probably a little bit lower, but a $25 million write-down is still, it's no joke.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that thing flopped so hard.
Yeah. What gets me is, like, granted, from the perspective of a fan, from the perspective who I just, on Sunday, we did the first session of our family D&D campaign. I'm running a campaign for my wife and my son, and it was just as wild as you would imagine a campaign where one of the main characters is a 6-year-old would be. I really enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed this movie. But we've talked about this a little bit. It was marketed to people who enjoy D&D stuff. There was not effort made to get average human to watch it.
I didn't understand the marketing campaign for the D&D movie because when I took myself out of the mind of somebody who understands D&D, I was like, who's this for?
Yeah.
Right?
You were talking about the trailer.
It kind of looks like a Marvel movie, but not, but fantasy, but very polished, like I wasn't sure where they were aiming.
Yeah.
Right? And that was one of the reasons I think that the D&D movie didn't do well is because, again, the concept of it has always been get the normies through the door.
Sure.
Right? If MCU films were entirely reliant on people who read comic books
to
go to the thing. They'd tank every time.
Nothing.
And that they wouldn't make anything.
Yeah.
You have to get people who aren't in these Coraline communities in the door.
Yeah.
And that was what they failed to do with the D&D movie.
Yeah.
Was market it in a way where anybody went, what is this?
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of the people I talked to who were in that normie community was like, what do you think? They're like, I don't.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It just, and again, it's not that people aren't going to the movies. Barbie crossed $1 billion.
Crushed it.
Okay.
Congrats to Barbie. Oppenheimer, my understanding, doing very well.
Oh no, Oppenheimer's doing great. It flopped because it flopped. Kind of coming back to Wizards, you know, they're growing their digital stuff. They're doing this stuff. They've obviously started a very hard pivot.
Yes.
To what their business model, what they want it to be.
Yeah.
And I think they're almost taking an Apple view of it as, we're going to push our business model this way. They just don't realize that this is the better model, right? That was something that Jobs used to do, right? People would go in with when the iPhone came out. They were like, people don't want this. He's like, we're going to tell them what they want, and they're going to do it.
We're going to decide what you want, and we're going to make that the standard.
And now, if you're Steve Jobs, you can do that.
Sure.
Okay.
When you're creating the next generation of technology,
you can do that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's working for Wizards.
Yeah, and I think it's very interesting, which, real quick, thank you for that gift sub. I see that coming through there. Thanks for gifting that. Very generous of you. I think it's interesting to see that the number of sets has been dialed back a little bit.
A little bit.
Not a lot, you know, and like I say, Magic is a lot of things. So I see a thing for Modern in here. I see a new chunk of Commander decks in here, like the Fallout release. You know, that is a purely Commander release, maybe with some collector boosters, with like what they're doing for Doctor Who, for some special printings of that. Talking about Baldur's Gate.
We'll talk about that in a second.
Oh yeah. Are they? Did they?
So no, they didn't produce it. Larian Studios did under license, which D&D doesn't have a video game division. So
in the chat, somebody's asking about the full release of Baldur's Gate.
Is it going to help them? I mean, they'll get licensing money out of it. I don't know how much. We won't know until the end of the year.
Yeah.
But I got to imagine it's not going to help them a whole lot.
Yeah.
Not financially at this stage. Is it going to help with brand stuff and things like that?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a very popular video game, and a lot of people who don't play D&D are still playing this game. Again, because the understanding is you're trying to get people outside of your hobby in.
Yeah. Well, Kelsey makes an interesting point in the YouTube chat here. This idea of Wizards doing things, the reference in the chat here is to having to pay extra to play in the command zone at physical conventions, Magic Fest and now Magic Cons. This is a really interesting thing to me, because I was listening to some content the other day that was talking about, there's something called like these Black Lotus drafts or something like that, which I'm in a spot where I don't get to travel for these conventions. My understanding is this is a very expensive, kind of VIP sort of draft experience. Every time they've done them, people have said they're horrible, and the feedback is almost universally negative. Every time they've done them, they've sold out within hours of the announcement of the event. And so
it's that FOMO that we talked about before.
Yes, and I genuinely, in this, I have some empathy for whoever's having to make these decisions at Wizards, who may or may not have a job right now, because if what you're constantly hearing from people is, this was bad, this was terrible, fix this, this, and this, and then the next time you try it, it sells out instantly. To me, it's like, which is it? You're telling me you hate this thing, but you keep coming back and doing it.
You keep engaging it. Well,
is it different people every time?
It's probably churn a little bit.
Is it, you know, and these were the questions I would have if I was in that spot.
This is where I want to go to some of the stuff that we were talking about in the pre-show, and that's this. Wall Street has now trained investors. Wall Street has now trained these companies that you can't just be a stable company that makes, okay, we have a little bit of growth, 5, 6, 7% a year, but we're profitable and we're stable and we're not losing money and do. Wall Street has said, no, in order for us to invest in you, in order for us to inject capital, in order for us to do this stuff, you got to be 10x, 20x, 30x, 40x every year.
Crazy amounts of profit.
Crazy amounts of profit. And it's not just profit, it's growth.
Yeah.
Right? And so the thing that's done is it's forced these executives whose entire compensation, the very existence of their jobs is based on the shareholders in Wall Street tell us this is what we need to be successful.
Yeah.
You must go accomplish that, right? Right?
I feel for whoever's getting that. Like,
no, and you're compensated accordingly.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, and the issue is that tech has changed the nature of investment and how investment is looked at, and
For
all
everything.
these things for all these corporations, and it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a bad thing because you can't take a company like Wizards of the Coast and go, we don't need to have an extra, we don't need to grow 2x this year.
200%, 300%, whatever.
We're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Right? But we're still making money, so it's okay.
Yeah.
We employ people and we're putting out a good product. Wall Street has trained that out of them.
See, and that genuinely, like, call this just a very human moment, like, that makes me sad.
Yeah.
And as you say, like, people are being quite aggressively at times compensated for these things when they do them well. And I am the first person who has a hard time being sympathetic towards somebody who's making a certain amount of money. But at the same time, like, I'm just imagining somebody in a position working really hard to make something they absolutely love, working with people who they care about, who they know personally, and they sat down for a quarterly earnings meeting, and because they couldn't quadruple the growth of their sector of a company in a year,
you're fired.
You're done. You're gone. Like that, and to me, like, that's sad. That's because to me there's a dehumanizing quality to that.
Yep.
And as you say, there's training that goes into this, and it's one of these things where I will make jokes about how much money people make doing different things and that sort of stuff, but at the same time, it's like, you've described a little bit what it's like in some of these corporate spaces. You're working 70 hours a week. You are working constantly. You don't get to not answer your phone. Like, what is spending time with my family?
Nope. Forget it.
And there's a deep sadness to me in that regard. And I've chosen to make that trade in my life. Like, I get to have summers off with my kid.
Yeah.
And that means I am compensated in a very different way than I could be in a different industry. But it also means that my life comes with a certain peace of mind and a certain openness where I'm not stressed because some VC doesn't want to invest in my department because I didn't triple the size of my market share.
Yeah.
I get to do something I love without that pressure.
Exactly. And that's the thing that we talked a little bit about this again in pre-show, which is, where are those balances?
Yeah.
Right? Like, we love the product. We like playing the game.
Yes.
It's a community event. Like, I love sitting down when we get late at night, we've closed the kitchen, and I'm just waiting around, and there's 10 of you in the store, and I'll sit down and do a Commander pod with people in the store. It's a blast.
Yes.
Right?
It's why I judge Magic.
Right.
It's so I can see 36 people on a Friday night, the vast majority of them having a really nice time playing a game they really enjoy.
Absolutely.
It's why I do what I do.
And that's the thing. But anybody this is the thing that we keep going, I keep seeing this in the discourse.
Yeah.
It's not even the executives. It's a whole societal thing.
Yeah.
It is, we now have this belief in our economic system that if X, Y, and Z don't happen, you're failing, even when you're succeeding.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the reason people, and somebody asked me this the other day, like, why can't you get investment? Why can't somebody, do stuff with Wizards and things like that?
Sure.
Because you can't get capital into tabletop. Because it's
Yeah.
never going to be a 10x growth industry. It's just not.
It's just not what it is.
Okay? And so capital is not going to get injected into this industry in the way that it needs to be.
Yeah.
For it to grow, for it to be something where somebody could go toe-to-toe with Wizards.
In today's economic existence.
And banks and investors are just going to be like, nah, no, sorry, not doing it.
Yeah.
Not doing it.
And to see in the YouTube chat here, like, this to me would only be doubled for people who, as they're mentioning here, certain personalities who are being mentioned.
In the D&D and the Magic communities.
Exactly. Yep. Who it's now, from the player perspective, or I shouldn't say from the player perspective, from the discourse perspective, you're a sellout. you're a corporate shill, you know. And then from the corporate perspective, why aren't our profits higher? You know, it's why can't you get these people who apparently think you're a corporate shill, or at least that's what you're hearing about on all these web platforms, to spend more of their money on this thing? Why aren't you turning our industry into a 3x, 4x, 5x, 10x, you know, industry?
Which is why they're so heavily focused on D&D Beyond, which is why the people that they're hiring at the corporate top end, that's where they're moving. Yeah. Okay? That's what's gonna happen. Yeah. But for right now, Wizards catching it in the teeth.
They're having a tough time.
Okay. Real quick.
Speaking of, I don't know if we want to do chat topics or things shifting and changing, we've got a whole nother.
All right, we can probably let's do 9 minutes on this other one.
Cool, sounds good.
So now we're on the next line, and this is the one that everybody's watching is Lorcana.
Not Wizards. Different thing.
Lorcana. Now, Ravensburger, who is the publisher of this, they did the Villainous games.
Yes.
Right.
And I want to give them credit. A fantastic game I played at my friend's house yesterday called Stomp the Plank.
Yeah.
Little game where you have these little elephants, and they make some great board games.
They make some really solid stuff. Yeah. They've been working on Lorcana for a while. They're doing it under license from Disney. Yeah. This thing went bonkers at Gen Con.
Yeah. 16-hour lines.
16-hour lines.
Like
People got trampled the first day. It was absolutely cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I did a TikTok on this on my personal channel, and it kind of blew up, and there's been discourse.
Chat, when was the last time you waited 16 hours in line for something? I can't remember.
There is no gaming product I would wait 16 hours in line for. There's just not.
No. Parmesan cheese, maybe, for me. I do love it that much.
So there's a lot of questions about what this TCG is going to do.
Yeah.
Now, it's very obvious to see what Ravensburger's doing, especially some of the stuff that came out this weekend.
Because what's some of the stuff you've gotten from the store perspective? I know you've been sent some things that show
they're giving us big retailer kits and organized play kits. They are hyper focused on game stores, which is why we get a 2-week exclusivity at every set line.
Which, can I say, I love that.
Me too.
Absolutely love that.
Organized play. Establishing an MSRP. Staring at you, Wizards.
MSRPs.
MSRPs are good.
MSRPs.
Okay.
Please stop putting shops in the awkward position where they have to answer for what somebody's charging for something on TCG Player.
So, looks like we're going to get pretty fast restocks on this.
Okay.
They're not underprinting.
It's not a one-piece situation.
But here's where they're coming after it too. So this weekend, draft rules are out.
Okay.
Multiplayer pod rules are out.
Currently, I would say, to my knowledge, admitting it could be limited, the most unique thing about Magic. There's a reason Commander's the most popular formats, because you can sit down with 3 people and play. If Lorcana can compete with that.
Or more. Because I've seen guys in the store do like 8
oh my gosh,
pods.
yeah,
they go bonkers.
100%.
There's 7 of us. We're all going to play.
Yeah.
They're coming for it.
Yeah.
Right? Ravensburger is locked in.
Okay.
I don't think they're coming after Pokemon.
To me, Pokemon is in a different conversation.
I think so too. Pokemon's almost like Nintendo, where like you talk about Xbox and Sony,
and then there's
Nintendo.
And every now and then you check in and you're like, good Lord, they're making how much money?
Oh yeah, Nintendo's printing money again.
And Pokemon's just over here like, stop paying attention. Like, we're doing our own thing.
Yeah. They're coming after Magic.
Yeah.
And they're doing it with organized play, all the rules that everybody loves.
Yep.
And they're doing it with the most recognizable set of IPs on the planet.
100%.
Here's the Universes Beyond sets you're not going to see.
Yep, exactly.
You're not going to see Disney. You're not going to see Marvel. You're not going to see Star Wars.
Star Wars. I saw it in the chat here. Last thing somebody waited 16 hours in line for, a Star Wars movie. There will not be a Commander set release for Star Wars. You know, it's not going to happen.
Nope.
Any IP that Disney acquires, as long as they decide to keep this game going.
Simpsons.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm just trying to imagine. So I have Homer Simpson go on, I don't know the terms of Lorcana, go on a quest with Ariel. You want to talk about weird brand crossovers and whatnot.
They're coming after Wizards.
Yeah.
Here's the other way that they're doing it. So first off, there's MSRT. Starter decks.
Yeah.
$16.99.
I thought it was $29.99.
$16.99.
A $17 starter deck. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Booster boxes. 124.
Yeah.
Okay. Treasure Troves, they've got their own fat packs.
Oh, we've got somebody in chat actually who isn't super familiar with what we're talking about with Lorcana.
Lorcana, Ravensburger is building and they're literally about to release. They did the soft release at Gen Con of the Disney TCG.
Yep.
It is Lorcana, and they are coming after it.
Yeah.
It is not like Kingdom Hearts. So what's interesting, and one of the things that Ravensburger did was they said, hey, the point is not to kill your opponent.
Yeah.
Right? This is not a breakdown, beat up your opponent for win state. You are attempting to collect lore.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a different goal.
It's a different goal. It's a build up mechanic, not a tear down.
Not a tear down, yeah.
Right?
Different philosophy, which very fitting with the Disney brand.
So supposedly boxes, some of the boxes are going for crazy numbers.
Oh, sure.
We at Gamers Heaven are not going, I'm not going to price gouge this. I'm not going to sell above MSRP.
I say on behalf of, everybody, thank you.
By the way, if you're a game shop and you're selling this above MSRP, I think you're a jerk.
Blech.
I think you're a jerk.
This is what I say to you. Blech. I fart in your general direction.
I think it's a bad idea. Okay? And what the thing about this is this. Ravensburger wants people to play this game.
Yes. Not just buy and collect this game.
We are going to get our first restocks 3 to 3.5 weeks after the first one.
Cool.
After the first round. It's coming.
Yeah.
Right?
Are you going to try it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I have an 8-year-old
sure.
who loves Disney, right? The card art looks really good.
Yeah.
We got Swashbuckler Mickey, and we got Robin Hood Mickey, and we got all these Mickeys.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
So
it's exciting.
I really think that this is. Now, here's the thing that I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I'm hoping. So, by the way, we're already getting phone calls about this thing.
About Lorcana?
Yeah. Are you guys getting
going to
this?
get it? Are you going to get it?
Are you getting it?
Interesting.
Are you doing pre-orders? By the way, to answer this question to anybody who's watching this on YouTube, and I'm going to put this one up on YouTube pretty fast. No, I'm not doing pre-orders. And I'm purchase limiting.
I was going to say, I remember you mentioning this, which, let
if you think
people
you're gonna,
get it.
If you think you're going to come into my shop and buy 10 booster boxes, you can go get fucked. Okay? It's not happening. Okay? I want people to play this game.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Ravensburger knows. For the long-term health of the game, play it.
You need to play it.
Okay? If you don't have players, this is why Magic succeeds.
Yeah.
Because it's got a strong player community.
People play Magic.
Right? Now, what I'm hoping, and we're in this really weird spot, because we got 3 back-to-back releases. We got Commander Masters, Pokemon Obsidian Flames this Friday, right?
And then Lorcana right after
the Friday after that. What I'm hoping is that this will reset stuff. That this will put pressure on Wizards, right? And the other companies to start dropping these prices.
That is my hope.
Ravensburger's going, look, I can do a $60 card deck, and we don't need to charge $40 for it.
No. They could.
It's cardboard.
Yeah.
Okay. Is the target market? No, I think it's everybody.
I really think it is. And here's what's interesting. That was a comment in the chat there. We were chatting about this a little bit. The biggest mistake that especially Magic could make, as a competitor to this, is to think that. Is to think, well, we're the older, more mature game, and sure, people will play Lorcana for a little while, but then they're going to age up into Magic. That would be a mistake.
Somebody said earlier in the chat they'd love to be in Wizards marketing rooms.
Yeah.
I would love to be in a corporate strategy meeting over there going, what are we doing?
And
I would love to be a fly on the wall.
Somebody's got their hands on their head like this and is like, $17 for a starter deck? Like, that's scaring someone.
As someone coming out of corporate, here's what I would be willing to bet some of the words that have been said in some of these meetings. $17 for a starter set? I'll tell you what they're going to do, and I'm pretending to be somebody from Wizards.
Sure.
Those things will be $35 before next year because they're just going to on the price. Here's the thing: if Ravensburger's smart, they won't.
They won't.
They won't. They'll leave this alone for 2 years.
Yep.
Okay.
Establish your player base.
Establish
people who want to play. Because here's the thing:
organized play.
And you can get a friend if they'll come in. Here's what I really hope from a mechanic perspective. I hope the starter decks are competitive. Because if the starter deck is like, you brought a starter deck to this event, like there's no way you're competing. If a starter deck is genuinely like, and some Pokemon product does a good job with this. They'll package pretty competitive decks as a pre-constructed thing of like, here's what you need to walk into a tournament. Magic has had this on occasion with like the Challenger decks.
I would say the
Some
Commander
of
decks.
those,
The Commander decks
you can
are,
sit down.
these days, if you pick up a random Commander deck,
Yes.
unless you're playing somebody with like a hyper-tuned,
Oh,
really
sure.
good deck,
Yeah.
most of the Commander decks play fine
Yes.
coming out of the box. They
They're
understand-
$100.
Well,
you know,
I mean, and even
from
like the normal ones, like March of the Machine
Sure.
or something like that.
40,
they play
45.
okay, you know?
Yeah.
I have the Rohan deck from Lord of the Rings. Plays fine.
Yeah, plays
right?
great.
It still has some of the commander issues and stuff, but
Yeah.
I agree with you. If the starter decks are reasonably competitive and give you a good, strong, like, thing, they're going to do that. PTQ system with free flights. What are you talking about, free flights? Ravensburger, because they premiered this at D23.
Yeah.
Right? Hey, guys, the World Championships at Disneyland. Okay? And
Put
get
you
a
up in
free
that
trip.
hotel.
You're going to stay at Disney at the California Adventure theme park.
Yeah.
Right? Because or the California Adventure Hotel, because that's a really nice hotel.
Yeah.
Right? And we're going to put you up or the Disneyland Hotel, and you're going to play your thing at the inside of Sleeping Beauty's castle.
Oh, man.
They can do a lot with that.
That's a
Got to
draw.
make use of Epcot somehow. No, in fact, and I think very intentionally,
Epcot.
they would not send it to Florida. I'm telling you right now.
Well, in Florida, their relationship with Florida is a
all
whole
of
thing.
Disney's major event stuff is going to Disneyland.
In California.
Because they're like, eat it. They're not going to close Disney World, but they're not going to help.
No, they're not going to help.
No. Again, put it all at Disneyland.
Yeah.
Again, as big as Epcot and Disney World is, Disneyland is still the home base. It's still the original. It's the first.
Yeah.
It's still where Disney is headquartered, is in LA.
Sure.
Again, I think they're coming for Wizards. Draft rules?
Draft rules
And the minute I saw draft and multiplayer,
And
I was like,
multiplayer. That's big.
that's it.
Because at that point,
You now do everything.
No, I'd seen a lot of articles that were like, will this kill Magic? And my first reaction was like, we'll see. Now it's, you really are aiming to compete. Like, you really are
And here's
setting
the thing,
yourselves
that's what
up
I said,
as...
it takes capital.
Yes.
And what they've got now is they've got capital, they've got hype,
Yep.
and they've got it rolling.
Well, and I saw in the YouTube chat earlier, you want to talk about hype, and this is the collectability side of things, what those previews were going for. Like the preview cards that came out that are going for like crazy huge money, the ones you could get at D23. These cards that you could only get at D23. Oh, man. Well, and Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is a whole nother conversation.
Oh, yeah.
But I want to make sure we have time to
So they wouldn't do that because of how Galaxy's Edge is designed.
Oh, okay, sure. That's more like experiential, right?
Well,
It's
and
like
here's
you
the
are
thing,
in that.
and with Galaxy's Edge specifically, if you pay attention, nothing is Disney branded inside of Galaxy's Edge.
Really?
You will not find a Disney logo on any of the merchandise you're buying or anything like that. It's all the Arabesh
Disney
writing.
doesn't exist in a galaxy far, far away.
It doesn't.
No.
And so what they do is it was supposed to be a fully immersive experience.
Okay.
When you go in there. All right, real quick, let's move on to chat topics.
Cool.
Do you think there's a commander tax where Wizards know they can charge more for commander because it's the most popular format?
To me, that's just business. And granted, my very
you think
limited
it's true?
understanding of business.
Would it surprise you?
It wouldn't if I found out that we are aiming this at commander, therefore it is more. I think you've already seen it in some of their more recent sets. Whether or not there's a price thing, it is affecting the game, and the example I would point to is bans. There were cards, for example, Omnath Locus of Creation in Zendikar Rising, I think if I'm not mistaken, almost immediately banned in Standard after printing because it was incredibly busted. A very popular commander. So to me, what that says is they knew that putting this card into a Standard legal set would help move packs. They also banned it almost instantaneously, very, very shortly after it was released. So to me, Commander is clearly having an effect on what cards go in what things. Now, I'm not in the room. I don't know if that was intentional. My word is not law in that regard. I don't have secret information. I'm a guy who enjoys playing Magic and is a judge, which, in case you don't know, judges have, as a profession, individuals would be connected with Wizards. Judges have no official relationship with Wizards of the Coast. I don't talk with anyone at Wizards. Judging is handled through a third-party organization called Judge Academy. It used to be that judges had some kind of connection with Wizards of the Coast. I don't get special emails from them. My promos are an agreement between the Judge promos, which you may have heard of or seen, are an agreement between Judge Academy, which is an independent organization, and Wizards of the Coast. And so just in case anybody thinks like I have some sort of personal connection there.
Take RCQ. If you look at the RCQ instruction paperwork specifically.
Isn't it DreamHack brand?
DreamHack. Well, DreamHack does it on behalf of Magic.
Sure.
Right? But they tell you in your instructions that while judges are recommended, they are not legally allowed to tell you you have to have them. As
we see in the YouTube chat here, that being a whole legal thing.
Yep.
Because it's, if you're going to legally require them, I would guess they would have to provide them. And then they would have to be paid Wizards employees, which, just to give a sense, if you don't know this about judges, compensation is interesting. I went to a judge conference once in which there was an entire breakout on how do you do your taxes when all of your income is in foil Magic cards. It's a journey, because there's ones like me who help out at a store and do events, and sometimes will do a big convention, and then there's others who travel the world, and this is what they do.
Yeah.
But to the commander tax side of things, I think you look at the amount of decks that are put out, it's certainly affecting the financial picture. You rewind the clock 5 years, not every set had a commander deck release along with it.
Well, and again, they very rarely, the number, like the Challenger decks.
Yep. When was the last time we saw one of those?
Earlier this year.
Okay.
Challenger decks. The Lord of the Rings starter set, which had 60-card decks.
The straight up, like, here are 2 starter decks. And that was like $25 or whatever, you know.
Play
Magic. Here's, you know, and it's, with codes for them on Arena.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's literally.
And then commander deck, commander deck, commander deck, commander deck.
Whereas every set comes with at least 2, but more likely 4
more
different
likely 4, maybe even 5. You know, Streets of New Capenna saw 5. Yeah, there's a lot.
There's a couple more that are coming.
With Wilds of Eldraine?
Yeah.
Oh, I believe it.
So, again, Magic knows that Commander is the dominant format.
Yes.
And that's why they release nothing but freaking Commander decks.
Yeah.
Right?
Which, you know, it's for the Fallout ones, you know, I'll get one. You know, it's one of the Fallout decks, because that's what I've tended to, like, let myself do. I am genuinely excited for October when the Doctor Who commander decks come out.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to be grabbing some of those.
Fun,
my wife is a huge Doctor Who fan, so that's going to happen.
One of the iconic moments from my wife and I's marriage was I think she may have been pregnant with our son at the time, and we were watching some episode of Doctor Who, and it was the first time I've ever seen her break down at a show. Just like full on, like, laugh sobbing in the corner because she couldn't figure out why this was affecting her so much. But it was,
but
I'm excited for that.
We're talking about this actually brings us to our last chat question of the game. Do I think the importing of all the IPs to MTG is a good thing or dilution of the brand?
Yeah. What's your take? I'm curious.
I'll be honest. I'm going to be straight up. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know on a macro level whether this is driving players out of Magic.
Yeah.
I don't believe that the Universes Beyond set is doing what I think Magic wants it to do, which is bringing a lot more players into Magic.
Yeah. My only evidence is anecdotal. I mean, we had the guy
the one
at the
dude,
store championship.
And he's the only one I've ever met who was like, this set came out, so I started playing Magic.
There was, and again, anecdotal, there was one other instance. I came in to run our Commander ladder on Friday, shortly after the release of Lord of the Rings, and a couple who I had never seen in the store before, and like didn't even know what sleeves were. Like, this was their understanding of, like, one of our store employees, Calvin, was having to tell them, like, you should probably get sleeves for these. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, so to me, that reads, you are new to card games.
Yes.
And they got all 4 commander decks, and sleeves for all of them. So, like, I've seen a couple instances in which it clearly brought in new people, but I need to see numbers, which maybe we'll see someday and maybe we won't.
And again,
you know,
I don't think it's affecting their player level. I don't think it's bringing people in on a macro level.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as to, again, whether this is pushing away Magic the Gathering purists or people are leaving the game.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think it's having much of an impact. Because I think the guys who are super into Magic, like, I'll use our store as an example.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people in the store who play a lot of Magic who are just like, 40K decks? Nope.
Yeah.
Doctor Who decks, not
No.
interested. They're not going to buy the Universes Beyond decks.
No.
And the most they would do for the Universes Beyond deck is they'd be like, I'm going to go buy a couple of these singles just because I know they work well in my Commander deck. But it's not, they're just not into it.
Yeah.
But they're not leaving Magic over it.
No. And seeing some comments in the chat here from the Twitch chat, I wouldn't be surprised if it is relatively minute either way. Though, I don't know. Wizards, let us know. I would be really interested to see those numbers. I find those kind of intriguing. And then it is interesting, I see in the YouTube chat, the comparison to what if there were other IPs in something like 40K? If your Space Marine drop pod was the Fortnite bus, and your
John Wick is now a Terminator.
Exactly, or it's like your commissar is, so and so or something like that.
The funny thing is, GW will never do that.
No, which is interesting that they went the other way.
So and I think there's a reason for it. I'm just gonna stop the recording really quick, just so we'll talk about that because I want to be able to put that one up on YouTube.
Sure.
So the reason of it is, I would be curious to know, of the total universe of Magic the Gathering players, how many of them actually keep up with the lore.
I mean, me, but not many.
Not many.
It's
right.
Yeah, not a lot.
Whereas GW, because their game is so deeply tied to the visuals and the idea of their brand.
Yes.
And one of the things that they've been doing over the last few years, and Phil and I have talked about this a lot, they're changing the names of certain things. They're gradually easing away from certain names because they lost some critical lawsuits.
Oh.
Right? Over branding.
Interesting.
Right? So this was a few years back. They had sued a woman for using the term Space Marine in her novel.
Whoa.
Right?
Just like a totally different, not set in the Warhammer lore novel. No. Okay.
They lost.
Whoa.
And the court said, here's the problem. You guys didn't invent the term Space Marine.
It existed prior to.
What she brought out was what she submitted to the court was, here's 90 sci-fi novels ranging from the 1940s to the 1960s.
Where that term was used.
Where the term Space Marine is used.
Yeah.
Right? And they were like, oh. And so that's why you'll notice they're now Primaris Marines. Right?
That's interesting. Is that why it's the Astra Militarum instead of the
Imperial Guard
and what is it, the Sororitas instead of the Battle Sisters of Battle or whatever it was?
And because what they're doing is they're gradually changing the name slowly but surely.
Interesting.
Because they can protect those.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's a new term that you can trademark
and it's
protect
and
that.
They invented it.
Yeah.
Right? The original 40K was extremely derivative.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Right?
There's a reading
Space
of it.
Orcs!
Exactly, yeah. There's a reading of it, to my understanding, that it's a parody of a bunch of different stuff. Like, all these things are various parodies and stuff.
Which is why they're not Dark Eldar. They're even changing that. It's Eldari.
Yeah.
Right? Drukhari.
Seeing
Yannari,
in the YouTube chat here mentioning Eldari, calling that out specifically.
Yep.
It's interesting because talking about that lore side of things, like, there are people who, to my understanding, they don't play 40K at all. They just read the books. They just engage with the lore.
Yeah, well, and if you go to Warhammer's website, they do not refer to miniature wargaming.
Yeah.
If you go to Warhammer's website, it's welcome to the Warhammer hobby.
Yeah.
Because in their minds, the video games, of which GW will license their crap to anybody.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, how many like Warhammer 40K mobile games do I see ads for all the time? So
video games, miniature painting, the books,
novels, all this stuff, right? It's the Warhammer hobby.
Yeah.
Right? And again, their lore is much more tied
to
what they're doing, right? And they lean on it a lot, harder than Magic does.
Yeah, very much so.
Okay.
Much
when Leviathan released, it was these Tyranids came out of this way, and oh my God, the thing we thought they were gone, and here's where the Votan came from, and da 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 da. There should be Sherlock Clouseau that's canon and real.
Obi-Wan Sherlock Clouseau.
That's goofy.
In the chat.
This is why they do what they do.
Yeah.
Because they're protecting their IP, and again, it's much more tied to their brand.
But I hear what you're saying.
Fuck the Votan lane.
I hear what you're saying in regards to not knowing if all of these IPs coming into Magic are that way. Because I remember, and I'll make this point briefly for the interest of time, when the Warhammer 40k decks first came out, there was some amount
of... Was that the first Universes Beyond set?
That was the first release. They'd done some secret layers. They did the Walking Dead secret layer was the first one that a lot of people were like, whoa, 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 whoa. Especially because somebody took, Sheriff Rick Grimes, to like a legacy event and top-8'd it. And people were like, is this the new Magic? I have to go buy these secret layers in order to be competitive. Walking Dead was a whole thing. They did a Fortnite secret layer. They did a Street Fighter secret layer. But Warhammer was the first like release, these commander decks. And I remember my first thought was, and I got one. I got the Necron one, and I like it. It's a fun deck to play. I didn't put any peanut butter in my chocolate or chocolate in my peanut butter, to reference the old Reese's ads or whatever. I haven't taken that deck apart and turned it into other stuff. And that's what I'd be interested to see is how many people are doing it like I am. I've got my Warhammer 40k deck, and I will run it as is. I've got my Doctor Who deck, and I'll run it as is. Lord of the Rings does feel different because to me, it fits so naturally into the Magic ecosystem.
It does.
When I heard Lord of the Rings as Universes Beyond, I was like, oh, duh. Of course. Like, that fits so naturally.
And again, to me, it's 40K, Fallout.
Yeah. Those are very different.
I'm like, even Assassin's Creed, I'm like,
And so to bluntly answer the question, what's interesting is, while I enjoy the product, for Magic as a brand, as an ecosystem, I don't like it, honestly. And people are welcome to call me hypocritical in this regard, and there's a world where it would be fair to do so, because I am excited to buy a Doctor Who deck. But I don't necessarily think that getting every brand into Magic is necessarily good for Magic, because I wonder, does that get a bunch of people for the short term, but in the long run is really confusing what this game is? Is Magic becoming the Fortnite of card games good? My inclination is, I don't think so.
Again, I don't think, I think we're in the middle, and I mean, we've obviously hit a lot of TCG today.
Yes, which fitting for when I'm on here.
Yeah, no,
we could have talked about the Pac-12, I don't know how many people in the chat we have
that are... There's a Pac-4 now.
I know, equally mourning, but, it's sports.
So... I think that we're in the middle of a shakeup in this industry.
Very much so. Like, we haven't seen in a long time.
That we haven't seen in a long time. And I think that the next 2 years are going to be really interesting. We're already seeing, actually, I was going to bring this up, and we chat about this. I don't know if you're in a hurry.
Kind of 1:15 is mine.
We got about 5 more minutes. So board game sales are down.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, to me...
Board and card game sales are down.
But that, and I don't want to blame it for everything, but that makes so much sense to me with COVID. Mm-hmm. Like, I know I bought way more puzzles in COVID than I've ever bought in my life.
And that's part of what they're saying. This is from a distributor with who's talking to ICV2. Mm-hmm. Our orders are there. It's just the quantity that's going out the door, which again goes back to what we were talking about with the distributor who was trying to backcharge me for not taking set boosters. Where a customer's ordering 1,000, now they're ordering 500. They're ordering board games, we're shipping them out. But where they were ordering 6, now they're ordering 3.
Yeah.
This is true, right?
Necrontier, thanks for being here.
Yeah. I also think that top 10 board games right now, Wingspan, Root, Sleeping Gods, Cascadia, Gloomhaven, Arc Nova.
Cascadia's up there?
Yep.
I love Cascadia.
Catan, Betrayal House and Hill, Hero Quest, Horses
Catan's still just got it on
Catan's just always gonna
Catan's
be.
always.
Yeah, I mean...
That's fair with board games. I get that.
Yeah.
How many rule sets do you want to learn seeing in the chat there?
Well, and again, I think part of it is post-COVID.
Yeah. It is different. And I think it's silly to pretend... Well, silly is maybe too mean. I struggle to pretend that it's not. It's different.
It is.
And everything from SAG-AFTRA to board games.
And so
different.
Board and card game sales being soft right now doesn't shock me. I would say it's 100% true. Also, inflation in other areas is eating people's disposable income.
It's
right.
Yeah.
Whether it's Magic or board games or tabletop RPGs, it is, to put not too fine a point on it, a luxury product.
Yes.
It is something you do not need to survive.
No. I tried eating a Magic card once. It didn't go very well.
I'm sure it didn't. Yeah, it's...
Hey, I get that in chat, not wanting to go out and do stuff. I'm going to a baseball game this evening. That sounds like a ton of fun. I get to like go and do a thing.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think it's important to the wise people in this moment will maybe see that for the opportunity that it is. You know, if I want to connect this to the thing that is my thing when I come on these streams a lot, hey, Magic Cons seem like a really cool opportunity to make the most of now. Because we haven't had convention Magic for years, and now it's back.
What
would it look like to revive those?
I'm curious what's going to happen with whatchamacallit? PAX this year.
Oh,
with all that
yeah.
Stuff. Actually, one of the last things I'll say, and this is another indicator, the reports out of Gen Con,
okay.
Wizards had basically no presence.
At Gen Con?
At Gen Con. Now, this is not the first year this has happened, but it's first year where they said, oh, we're going to be much more present at these conventions.
And then weren't.
Barely any presence at Gen Con.
I mean, and I don't know if this is the same parallel or not, but it's interesting to hear that at the same time as what we saw happen with E3. And all the major publishers, basically E3, bye.
And again, Ravensburger, huge presence at Gen Con.
Yeah.
All right, folks, that's where we're going to end today's show. If you missed any segments, go check out our YouTube channel. I just posted some other stuff. So go subscribe to us on YouTube. Go check the website for all our updated event schedule. A lot of stuff going on this month. And again, Pokemon Obsidian Flames comes out this week.
Hey.
We'll be back tomorrow at 11:30 with a new introduction.
Ooh.
You guys are going to get to meet someone new tomorrow.
Ooh.
There
Tune
will
in
be
and find out who.
I think it's a Weiss Schwartz tournament today at 6. We have trivia this week again on Thursday with Brandon Victor. I actually just posted yesterday the trivia segment we did on this Twitch channel with Brandon from last week. So go watch that. It was funny. We did.
Oh, do it. That sounds great.
We did a geeky trivia segment, and I think that should be up on YouTube now. So
Love it.
go take a look at that. We love you all. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.